Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a horror suspense from 2024 titled The Deliverance. The film opens with Ebony, a single mother of 3 kids who's moved to a new house with her mother. Ebony is called upstairs by her youngest son, Andre, who wants to show the Gotham City he's painted on the wall of his room. Meanwhile, Ebony's mother, Alberta, is seen attending a seminar at church. Ebony, Alberta, and her 3 kids unite at the dinner table, where Alberta complains about how distasteful the food is, which triggers Ebony. Little Andre tries to take part in the conversation and gets smacked by Ebony, causing his lips to burst open. Ebony becomes concerned and starts cleaning the blood off of his lips. That night, while the only daughter, Shante, is texting with her father, she sniffs and finds the room reeking of crap, so she blames it on her brothers who share the same room with her. Downstairs, Ebony is also bothered by flies buzzing around her while dealing with the bills. She goes near the basement door and figures the stench is coming from there. Later that night, Andre comes down in the kitchen to drink some milk when he witnesses a crow hit the kitchen window and die. He goes out and takes a good look at it. The next day, while the kids are coming back from school, some boys at the corner cuss at him and hit him for no reason. Meanwhile, Ebony complains to the landlord about the smell and instead gets a reminder of the overdue mortgage. She immediately hangs up when she finds alcohol and a stack of money folded in Nate's closet. When the kids return, she tries to scold Nate, but he embarrasses her by reminding her he's hiding her alcohol from her and would never touch it since he knows what it has done to Ebony. When Ebony spots the bruise on his face, Shante reveals how the corner boys bully him. Ebony leaves everything just to rush to the bullies and beat them herself. When she returns, she spots Alberta on the porch, giving her the looks, which prompts Ebony to yell at Alberta in an argumentative tone on why she can't get to judge Ebony's parenting after how she's poorly raised her. When Ebony sits alone on the porch stairs, she finds Andre by the swings, mumbling. She believes he's talking to himself and sends him back inside. The same night, everyone sits together to watch an old classic movie. While the women of this house sit in a line and braid each other, Ebony ends up upsetting Shante for arranging a birthday party for her instead of buying her a new phone. Late at night, Andre sleepwalks and goes down the basement. When Ebony finds the door open, she locks it from the outside without checking it. Alberta wakes up to another one of her chemo sessions. She puts on a wig and goes to the hospital where she flirts with the nurse, Melvin. Before leaving, she's told by the receptionist that her healthcare stopped paying for her sessions a year ago, so Ebony has been paying for her and is now late on the past 2 months' worth of payments. She tries to ask Ebony about the secret help the coming night, but she's too drunk to be conversing and takes a nap right away. She gets a haunting vision of a man standing next to her bed, so she wakes up out of dread and finds someone running down the stairs. She takes her bat and goes down to find the basement door opened again. She shuts it and finds out Nate standing behind her, asking to give him back his money. Ebony refuses to give him back his money, assuming he's selling drugs out there, but he reveals that he's been saving the money his father has been sending him online so he can save enough to leave her. His harsh words make Ebony slap him, but he strikes back by pushing Ebony twice as hard. Andre runs down to stop their fight and ends up tripping and getting hurt. Ebony looks after him and later goes to Nate's room to return his money. She apologizes and begs him never to leave since he's too good of a son. Tired of the stench, Ebony recruits a man to check the basement. The man finds a dead cat in there and charges $60 for his services, which Ebony doesn't have. Nate goes to grab the money from his savings when Cynthia from the social services makes her entrance. She looks at the kids and finds bruises on everyone. When she asks about them, none of the kids speak up. She gives Ebony the looks and gives Shante her card in case she ever needs to call her. She sends the kids away and warns Ebony about losing the kids' custody because her husband reported alcohol abuse and negligence in the house while appealing for custody. Ebony assures her she didn't hurt the kids and would never think of doing so. When Cynthia leaves, Alberta and Ebony find another woman spying on them from her car, so they think she's also some social worker. The coming night, Ebony gathers her friends for Shantae's birthday and also gifts her new phone. She sends the kids back to sleep and parties with her friends. Suddenly, she hears someone banging the basement door from the inside. When she opens it with anticipation, she finds Andre banging his head against the door and bruising himself, deep in sleep. She wakes him up and puts him to bed herself. Once everyone leaves the party, Ebony spots Andre in the hall, now facing the wall. When she asks what's happening, little Andre confesses to being scared of a boy named Trey, who takes him down the basement and also haunts his closets. She ignores this and yells at him to go back to his room. When Ebony falls asleep, she hears loud thudding sounds coming from the kids' room, so she runs to check up on them. Alberta hears the kids screaming, so she runs upstairs and finds Ebony on the floor, while the kids are cornered. When she asks the kids, Andre accuses his mother of smacking all three of them against the wall, which looks visibly broken. Under a strange spell, all three kids do something so horrible in their classes the next day. Nate rolls on the floor while laughing. Andre poops in the class and throws it on the teacher, and Shante bleeds from her lady bits aside from her menstruation. Ebony is called and rushed to the hospital, where she almost fights with the psychologist for declaring the kids normal, ignoring what they've done at school. While Alberta tries silencing her, the doctor asks her about the suspicious bruises on all of her kids and asks if they're in a stressful environment. That's when she spills that her husband is in Iraq, and with no news of making a return, which has brought a lot of burden to the family. When they leave the hospital, Ebony fights with her mother and cusses at her for not taking her side and getting the epiphany of being a better and more religious person after screwing her entire life. At home, another anomaly occurs when Ebony leaves Andre in the bathtub to receive a call from another bill collector. When she returns, she finds Nate drowning Andre in the tub by strangling him. She uses full strength to push Nate away and save Andre. Alberta shows up and hugs scared Nate, who claims to be having no idea about what he just did. Cynthia makes another appearance the next day, hell-bent on accusing Ebony of treating her kids poorly, but Ebony breaks into tears while blaming the house for infecting her kids and causing them to have mental breakdowns. She also confesses that she heard Andre speaking a foreign language in his closet, and later telling her that there's a boy who's going to kill him. When Cynthia keeps pointing fingers at Ebony's parenting, Alberta shows up with a bat and scares her away, as well as the spying woman parked in front. Alberta acknowledges the evil presence in the house and takes the matter to her church, but the Reverend tells her to take her case elsewhere, since they don't deal with that kind of situation. On the other hand, Ebony is finally approached by the spying lady, who calls herself an apostle, sent straight by God to help her family. To gain Ebony's trust, she shows her the picture of a family that lived in Ebony's house 2 decades ago. It went through the same problem as her. According to her, a powerful demon has possessed Andre, just like the one in the family from 20 years ago. The family called her to exorcise the kid, but she couldn't perform it due to the demon being too strong. At the same time, Alberta, who is alone at home, comes in contact with the demon, who pins her to the ground. Back on Ebony's side, the apostle completes the story of the cursed family, where the young boy was killed by the demon, who later possessed the mother and made her kill the rest of the family members before hanging herself. The same demon has inflicted upon Ebony's son, but Ebony finds it offending and leaves. When she comes back home, she finds her mother strangled to death. Now starting to believe the apostle's words, Ebony takes the kids out in the car, where Shante causes a nervous breakdown in Ebony by revealing she's called the social services to take them away now that their grandmother is dead. On top of that, Ebony witnesses, through the front mirror, her son getting possessed and blaming her for Alberta's death. She nearly crashes the car and runs into a restaurant, begging people to help her children from being killed. When they check up on her kids, they find them sleeping peacefully. Hence, this lands her in her final psychological evaluation, which declares her unfit to take custody of her children. Cynthia also shows up to give Ebony consolation while her children are sent to foster care in front of her. Ebony returns to the apostle's church and finally admits she was right. The apostle elaborates on how the demon is hosting Andre's body in order to control others so it can kill them. Meanwhile, Cynthia is called to check up on the now restrained Andre, who's said to be growling and hissing at the nursing staff. Cynthia herself witnesses Andre's mouth foaming up and becomes concerned. Back in the church, the apostle restores Ebony's faith by making her pray for the sake of Andre. Now, Cynthia visits Andre personally, who gets possessed by the demon. He breaks free from the restraining cuffs and climbs backwards on the wall, causing Cynthia's bones to shiver and run away to explain everything to the doctors. A few moments later, Ebony steals Andre from his room and takes him back to the Apostle's house in her car. There, they tie him up and proceed with the deliverance. But before that, the Apostle warns Ebony not to fear the demon since it feeds on weakness. When the Apostle starts sprinkling holy water on Andre, it takes Alberta's form, but with a demonic touch. At the same time, it controls the other siblings in foster care, and their situation worsens as the plot evolves. When the demon makes the entire house quake, Ebony is told to run upstairs and take hiding. The demon vanishes and beats up the Apostle to death. When Ebony comes down, she spots Andre sitting by the dying Apostle's side. Much to her dread, Andre disappears. She sits by the Apostle's side, who gives her the holy water and reminds her not to fear the demon. Now, Ebony goes down in the basement, where she catches Andre standing near a sinkhole, slowly turning into the demon. She shows courage and tries to say the Lord's name, but the demon turns into a horrified version of Ebony and terrorizes her. It violates Ebony and breaks every bone in her body without physically coming in contact with her. But in the end, Ebony refers herself as a child of God and rebukes the demon out of Andre, which actually starts to work. The demon makes a last attempt to save itself by possessing Ebony, but she stays strong enough to chant the Lord's name in the demon's language. This causes the demon to catch fire and go down the sinkhole in the deepest pit of hell. When Ebony wakes up the next morning, she finds Andre lying by the sinkhole, so she joins him in tears. Once back on her feet, she immediately packs her stuff and decides to move to another city with her auntie. Cynthia shows up and tells Ebony that she's going to put a good word for her to the higher-ups despite a bad record, so she can have her children back. The film ends with Ebony getting her kids back 6 months later, to whom she delivers the news of getting back together with her husband, which makes the kids happy again. I hope you liked the story recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching and see you next time.